Have you ever had to have a really hard conversation, but you resisted it so much because you were so afraid of what the person was going to say and how they would take the truth that you share with them? Hard conversations are probably one of the scariest things that people avoid in life because you have to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable is scary, and it's also necessary for personal growth and enriching your relationships in life. Today, I had to have a hard conversation, and I've been having to have hard conversations a lot more lately because when you start to level up and when you start to do the release work, and release work meaning releasing that old version of yourself to allow the true version of you to start to shine more, you likely will have to have some hard conversations, especially with people that you care about and whose opinion probably matters to you. Through having hard conversations though, it's challenged me to be not only more vulnerable with others, but also with myself. For day 5 of the Trust Your Gut Challenge, I had a hard conversation. Throughout this video, I'm gonna share what that was like for me and how important it is to lean into those hard conversations and learn how to be vulnerable. By the end of this video, I hope that you take away some learning lessons based off of my experiences so that you can show up more authentically for yourself and your relationships. Before we get into that, a little recap about the Trust Your Gut Challenge so far. Yes, I'm still feeling sick. You might be able to tell I'm a little nasally, a little congested, and I have some tissues for the sniffles and if I get too emotional during this conversation today. After filming different episodes each day for the last 5 days, what I've learned is that taking action is probably the smartest thing you can do as an entrepreneur. Like I touched on in day 3, trusting your gut means that you may or may not know what the outcome is going to be. And you might have done this at some point in your life or still do, is avoid those decisions. Avoid those hard decisions because you're afraid of what comes next. That same concept can be applied when you're needing to have a hard conversation with somebody. Maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a partner, a friend, a loved one, family member, or a stranger. I hope that you can sense a theme here throughout these days in that things that are fearful or scary or difficult or uncomfortable is only that way because we perceive it to be that way. And the more you practice leaning into those fears, and that's what I've learned through this challenge myself, the easier it gets and the less scary it becomes. Whether that's making content in public, going to a bagel shop, resting when you otherwise want to be out and about. This is where our comfort zone starts to stretch. And through a challenge like this, to trust your gut, it's amazing how quickly you can grow. And it starts with these little actions and decisions that you make consistently and how you choose to show up that makes all the difference. Because I've committed to doing this challenge for 30 days, that's 30 days that I need to show up, not just for me, but for you. And I've committed to this because I care so deeply about helping people connect with themselves that I am willing to put myself on the line and be seen in my vulnerability doing it when I may or may not have it all figured out. And that scares me. It scares me because I don't want to be seen as somebody who doesn't have it figured out because I'm a leader. And I've had this idea that leaders are supposed to be great and the experts at what they do. And while I need to give myself some credit because I am very competent in being a leader and showing up and continuing to do the work myself and practice what I preach, I'm also not perfect and I'm still figuring it out. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. And that's part of growth. That is what we all go through at some point. And every time we level up, we meet a new edge of ourselves. And so through each day of this challenge, I'm meeting a new edge of myself. If you don't get anything out of this challenge, which I hope you do, and I'm sure you will, I'm so glad that I'm doing this for me. And lately I've been doing a lot of release work. I've been shedding these old layers of myself. 2025 was the year of the snake, meaning that we're being asked to evaluate ourselves in our life and ask the question, what do I need to let go of? What doesn't feel aligned anymore? And as we come to the end of that season of the year of the snake, which didn't end on January 1st, it actually ends mid-February, meaning that we're still in this process of shedding and will be in the process of shedding the rest of our lives, but it's more amplified and intense right now. I feel this intense push towards my next version of myself. And that means that I can't bring all the energy of the old life with me. And I've made some decisions prior to doing the shedding to commit to show up for people and to collaborate on things or work together or having people in my life. And after doing the release work that I probably should have done earlier, but it's all in divine timing, right? I reevaluated myself and my energy and the focus of where I'm going. And I had to get real honest with myself and ask, does this still feel aligned? And if what doesn't align involves other people, that means I've had to have some hard conversations. And hard conversations are so hard for me because, one, I'm a very empathetic person and I'm always thinking about the people that I'm working with or connecting with and care about. I'm grateful that I have that compassionate heart for others, and it also has hindered me with moving forward with decisions. And also, I've noticed ways that I've self-neglected to help preserve that other person. But what I've realized is the more you start to self-neglect and the less you lean into these hard conversations, it actually hurts you and the person you're involved in the process. So through this Trust Your Gut challenge, I have strengthened my relationship with myself and my trust and listening to my intuition. And more recently, I've noticed that a certain collaboration with a good friend no longer felt aligned for me for this year. And I was really struggling with knowing what to say. I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I didn't want her to feel like I was quitting or leaving because it was hard. And I was afraid. I was afraid that she would think less of me or that I didn't care, which was far from the truth. I also knew that while those fears were alive within me and those limited beliefs, I also knew that there have been plenty of times that I haven't trusted my gut, as I'm sure you can probably think of a couple times that you haven't trusted that gut hit and you've gone against it and the outcome was not very supportive, or it caused turmoil or backlash or whatever the negative outcome was. Knowing that, I've had to lean into the discomfort of having those hard conversations because it matters. And I've also learned that the temporary discomfort of having those hard conversations is so much more worthwhile than avoiding my gut instinct and going forward with something anyway that I didn't totally feel was right. Because that is when I actually ended up hurting people or hurting myself or both. And I've had to live with that. And I've done a lot of work to forgive myself for those decisions that I've made in the past, because you have to. You can't hold that resentment towards yourself. You can't hold the grudge on yourself because that doesn't get you anywhere. It only keeps you stuck where you're at. Before I reached out to my friend about this situation, I was nervous. I was shaking. I was going through all the ways it could go wrong in my head. But I knew deep in my heart and in my gut that it was the right thing to do. And when you do the right thing, it feels so freeing. And when I chose to have that conversation, I leaned into my heart and I spoke from that place. And I shared what was coming up for me. I expressed the vulnerabilities. I expressed how hard this was. I expressed that there was fear involved. And I shared openly. And she received it well. And she thanked me for being honest with myself and with her, and celebrated me in this decision, because she's also done the hard work too, and she knows what that's like. Some people don't know what that's like. Some people haven't done the work, and they might be upset. They might yell, they might scream, their emotions might come out, and that's definitely happened for me in other situations. And that can be very hurtful to receive. But I guarantee that that conversation is needed. And you're going to look back and be so grateful that you leaned into that fear. And so after that conversation that I had, I felt a sigh of relief. And I was very proud of myself that I showed up and I did the hard thing. And also know that when you don't express yourself, when you don't speak your truth, when you don't share what's on your heart, when you suppress those emotions and you suppress those thoughts and beliefs and decisions, it stays stuck in your body. And that's when that can lead to disease. If you're suppressing your truth, for example, it can cause issues with your throat chakra, your thyroid. And so that can lead to things like hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. And I've seen that happen in multiple cases. And that actually happened for me. I had been suppressing my truth and not speaking up. And I lived with the consequence of hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's. And I've completely reversed it, thank God, through showing up in these ways. The beauty of the work that I've done and how I help my clients is that I have a tool now that I can guide somebody through called MER, Mental Emotional Release. And I learned this in my NLP Master Practitioner training. And it is an incredible method to help somebody resolve and release any negative emotion around a specific problem in an area of life. You can release anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, anxiety. You can release all of that and any limiting belief using this method. And it has helped me to release a ton of emotion that's been stored in my body. And it's also relieved my mind and my capacity to see things clearly. And I've seen this with my clients as well. And it works so fast that most people who go through this are in disbelief that they could let go of a negative emotion and limiting belief like that. And we're talking things that they've been carrying for a lifetime potentially, or multiple lifetimes. The point that I'm trying to make is that hard conversations are a part of life, and leaning into them is how you grow. If I didn't have that conversation with my friend today, if I didn't have a conversation with a previous boss a couple weeks ago, or even a couple years ago, I would have been stuck in the same situation that I was in that was not right for me. And I would have had to live with the uncomfortable suffering of not listening to the truth within. And so if you're listening to this and you feel like there's a hard conversation that you need to have that you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable and it feels icky, have the hard conversation. You will feel so relieved after, I promise you. And comment below, I've done it, after you've completed that hard conversation. And I want to celebrate you because we're in this together. And I'm sure there are plenty of hard conversations to come in my life. And I may or may not, feel comfortable doing it. But I know that it's good for me. And if I can do it, you can do it. We're in this together. Okay, that is day 5 for you for the Trust Your Gut Challenge. Please subscribe so you can tag along this journey. I hope that you learned something. Again, let me know in the comments what your takeaway was from this video. And by the end of this challenge, my goal is that I feel even more tapped in and more connected to my intuition and honor myself in that way, and offer some tools for you to learn how to practice tapping into your intuition and strengthening that connection with yourself as well. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for day 6.